Kia ora, wonderful people. You might have heard that New Zealanders living in Australia will become eligible for the Australian citizenship from the 1st of July 2023. If you haven't heard about this yet, here we are. My name is Charles, also known as Carol. I'm working for Novak Migration. Let me explain the basics about Australian citizenship, how to become an Australian citizen, and why, as a New Zealander, you should consider applying for Australian citizenship. So, the direct pathway to Australian citizenship for New Zealand citizens will be available under the new rules from 1st of July 2023. So, in general, from 1st of July 2023, New Zealand citizens who have been living in Australia for 4 years or more will be eligible to apply directly for Australian citizenship. You will no longer have to apply for be granted a permanent resident visa. We have helped a lot of New Zealanders to get the permanent residency either through the resident return visa 189, New Zealand stream or ENS. There are special streams for the New Zealanders and so on and so on. This will no longer be required, as you don't have to become a permanent resident first to apply for the citizenship. There is an article on Home Affairs website. You can go over there and you can, read a bit more about that. So here's the thing: will this new legislation last forever? Hopefully, but God only knows. It's hard to say. Government is changing their minds from time to time. You may remember, before 1st of September 1994, New Zealanders who came to Australia were considered permanent residents. And 1st of September 1994, government introduced the subclass 444 special category visa for New Zealanders. You can live in Australia until the end of your days, but it's just the visa. It's not temporary, it's not permanent, it's a special category. And you are being granted this visa every time when you are coming to Australia. Interestingly, your incoming passenger card is being considered as a visa application. Another magic date is 26th of February 2001, when government decided that New Zealanders who were in Australia at the time becoming so-called protected subclass 444 visa holders. And those New Zealanders who are considered protected special category visa holders could apply for the Australian citizenship straight away. It's gonna be like that going forward, but hey, from the 1st of July 2023, any New Zealander can apply for the Australian citizenship under the general citizenship rules. Generally speaking, in my opinion, you should apply for Australian citizenship while you can, because government may change the rules and it's gonna be, again, not so nice. Hopefully not, but who knows. What difference would it make if New Zealander would get an Australian citizenship? On the special category 444 visa, you can live in Australia, not a problem. You've got the work rights. So, in general, you've got the work rights, you're eligible for Medicare and some Centrelink benefits. But there is a lot of stuff for which New Zealanders are not being eligible on the 444 visa. They are not eligible for NDIS, cannot get loan to study in university unless long-term resident. There is sort of exemption. Can't work for Australian government, because to work for Australian government you must be citizen or permanent resident. Special category visa does not count. I think you cannot even work as the postie, because that's the job for the government. Can't vote. New Zealand citizens cannot vote in Australia. I think there are over 600,000 New Zealanders in Australia on the special category visa. A lot of people. So just imagine if this many people could get the rights to vote, could get Australian citizenship, so you could actually make a difference. Okay. JobKeeper. Do you remember when COVID hit Australia and government decided that New Zealanders are not getting JobKeeper? It have changed after a couple of weeks, but hey, again, another thing which You rely on the government, and triple four is a visa. Visa could be cancelled under some circumstances. Visa might be cancelled. It's usually about the character concern. If for whatever reason you would get sentenced to at least 12 months imprisonment, you don't even have to go to jail. Your visa would be cancelled automatically. All right, and if you will be removed from Australia based under the Section 501 cancellation, you cannot come back to Australia. If you would have an Australian passport, of course, you will have to go to jail or whatever, but you will not be removed from Australia. And you can have two passports. You don't have to give up your New Zealand passport. You can keep it, and you can have a New Zealand passport and Australian passport. What are eligibility requirements for Australian citizenship for New Zealanders? General residency requirement for Australian citizenship by conferral is set out in the Australian Citizenship Act 2007. To meet the general residency requirement, an applicant must be lawfully present in Australia for 4 years, including 12 months as permanent resident immediately before the date of application. That's not changing. What's changing is that for New Zealand citizens who are long-term residents in Australia, this will be achieved by backdating the period of permanent residence for citizenship purposes. That's important. Permanent residence for citizenship purposes only. This will allow them to meet the 12 months permanent residence period under the general residence requirement. So, 1st of July 2023, that's when people who have lived, going back from the 1st of July, New Zealanders who have lived in Australia for 4 years, they will be eligible for the citizenship, and these 12 months of the permanent residency requirement will be covered by last 12 months, where the New Zealanders will be considered permanent residents for the 1st of July 2022. If you will not have lived for 4 years, going back from the 1st of July 2023, this legislation should last, hopefully forever, but God only knows. So if you will become eligible, in next year, next 2 years, it doesn't matter if you'll be considered permanent resident for 2 years, 3 years, it must be at least 12 months. So 1st of July 2022, that's when the New Zealanders on the special category visa, 444, are considered permanent residents in Australia. If you would come to Australia after that date, then the permanent residence would be from that date when you came to Australia. How to apply for Australian citizenship? All right, so New Zealanders who have lived not even, in Australia for a specified period of time will not become Australian citizens automatically. They must apply for Australian citizenship. So it's not like you have lived in Australia for 4 years and you will become Australian citizen straight away. Nobody will knock to your door with the Australian passport. You must apply for it. Okay? To obtain Australian citizenship, New Zealanders living in Australia generally need to meet the standard citizenship requirements. 4 years in last 4 years living in Australia from the date of application. So it's not like you would have lived in Australia for 15 years, then back to New Zealand for another 5 years, and then coming back to Australia, and you have lived for 1 year, okay, in the last 4 years. No, you will have to live for another 3 years. So it's 4 years from the date of application. More than 4 years does not count towards the citizenship eligibility. So, general residency requirements, good character. You will have to provide penal checks from some countries, and passing the citizenship test is the whole process. You are lodging the citizenship application, then providing all of the relevant documents, then the case officer is looking at your application. If they are happy with the documents, you are being invited for the citizenship test, then you are sitting the test, passing the test, then eventually your citizenship is approved. But even if it is approved, you are not yet considered an Australian citizen. Once approved, then your local city council will get the information, and then you will be invited to a pledge. Okay, and once you will do a pledge, you will become an Australian citizen. So it's the whole process. What about family members on New Zealand dependent visa, subclass 461? That's a tricky bit. If your partner is on a New Zealand dependent visa, if they are not New Zealander and they are on the New Zealand dependent visa, once you will become an Australian citizen, he or she will no longer be eligible for the subclass 461 because the person who is on subclass 461 must be in a relationship with New Zealander or be single. So you may put an argument, yeah, but I'm also New Zealander, so he or she is with the relationship with New Zealander, but Australian citizenship will take over. All right. So in such a situation, you should apply for the partner visa. I know cost of the partner visa 8,000 plus, cost of the 461 just few hundred. It's massive difference, but partner visa it's the permanent visa. 461 it's just the temporary visa, and partner visa well once your partner will become permanent resident, then another couple of months they might become eligible for the Australian citizenship as well. So that could be the way to go. Do you need an assistance with your Australian citizenship application? I know a lot of people are applying by themselves, but if you need assistance, if you need to discuss your eligibility, here we are. Give a call to my office, shoot us an email, and somebody from my office will have a chat with you about your eligibility and if or how we can help. So thank you very much for being with me. Speak to you soon.